I'm really excited to be here. This is the first time I've ever been to Monktoberfest. So this will not have a ton of in-jokes from previous years. You'll have to keep inviting me back if you want that. I wanted to talk about, like, everyone talks about diversity. You know, it's nice, it's good. Like, there is, like, so much written on it. I could have spent, like, another 3 hours on this one slide. It's important, it's crucial, it's beneficial, it's good for your bottom line, all these kinds of great things. And so, you know, what we don't really like talk about the other piece of that. So when you start on your journey, you're like, diversity, everyone loves it. I like being liked, I'm gonna work on this. We'll make new friends, we'll make the world a better place. Everything is awesome. So that's how it starts. And everyone's like, yay, welcome to the struggle. And then many years later, it's just like some extra work you do. Or depending on where you work, it might be like a lot of extra work you do. And you might also, along the way, find out that not everyone thinks it's awesome. And it doesn't cost no money, and it doesn't take no work. So it might be going a little more like this. I read something about this lady is doing fine now. She doesn't remember even what she was crying about. And so, in case you're worried, I was worried. I wanted to know. So, as you do this work, I would urge you to protect your spark. This is something my friend Shauna uses to talk about, like, not doing a lot of stuff that doesn't bring you joy, not scheduling yourself more hours than you're awake to do things, not skipping stuff like eating and going outdoors and stuff like that to do work. So protect your spark. And that means that you can't do it alone. So that's the first thing. Like, first of all, just because there are only so many hours in the day, and there is like a lot of work to be done. So if you try to do it all yourself, it's like boiling the ocean, which we're doing a good job of with climate change, so you don't have to do that. But I also don't suggest doing diversity work all by yourself. Because even as nice as you are as a single person in your project, like, you can be like, I always say hello to newcomers, I make sure they're comfortable, tell them where the bathroom is, tell them to call me if they need anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They will eventually meet the others. And yeah, you can't keep them from meeting the others. So you have to bring the others in. And that's tricky. I mean, they seem to be having a really good time being jerks here. So, you know, it's going to take some work, and you will encounter some resistance. What if you don't find any allies? No one likes this answer. You have to move on and find another project. Find another conference to organize. Maybe this one. This one's lovely. I could make some other suggestions if you want. You might have to choose a different tech or a different programming language, somewhere that you will find some allies. So why the resistance? I would say, first of all, people are pretty suspicious of change. So, like, if you've ever tried to keep a toddler from sticking their tongue into an electrical socket, the look they give you, like, I am not doing it wrong. Like, we learn it really early to be like, I'm the boss of me, like, I was doing just fine. So, like, we keep that with us as adults, I think. Thankfully, most of us don't lick sockets anymore, but, like, we find other ways to manifest that energy of, like, nah. So I would say tread carefully in your asks, like, carefully, like, with empathy, like, as you're, like, listening, making sure that you're hearing things, and, you know, make sure that you're not coming across like you're doing it wrong when people mean well and they want to help, but they just haven't, like, been brought up to speed yet. And one of the reasons for this is that best practices continue to change. Like, when I came out in my 20s, like, all the words that we used about sexuality and gender presentation are all no, we don't use any of those words anymore. We use totally different words. And so that it continues to change. A big example is how we talk about Black people in the US and how people choose to use those words. So if you're from South Africa, but you're a white person and you moved to America, are you African American? That's like what people were saying in the 90s to refer to Black people. Like, and it's confusing, it's weird, I mean, it's probably better than what they were saying before, but it's, you know, if someone is Jamaican or Haitian or from Puerto Rico, they might prefer to be called Haitian American or Afro-Caribbean. And if they're from Canada, like, you probably shouldn't call them American at all. So regardless of the color of their skin. I know, it's like when people try to be euphemistic, it leads them down some weird paths. Like, there's definitely the apocryphal story of someone doing a find and replace, and then they're talking about like African-American patent leather shoes. And it's like, no, the word you were looking for is black. And so this doesn't work. So unless you know someone's background or how they prefer to be called, if you're talking about skin color, like you're talking about makeup, or you're talking about surveillance cameras, or you're talking about facial recognition software, the word you were looking for is black. But intent matters. If you are saying that in, like, you can't whisper it, because it's not a bad word. So anyway, this is just one example of how just like probably for, I think everyone here is over 12, in our lifetimes, the language on this has changed. And if that you didn't get caught up on that one, something else will catch you. Like this will almost certainly happen to you too. Another thing where best practices, or like people who mean well kind of get tripped up, is they use like maybe too broad of a brush. And a famous example of this is like white middle-class feminists in the US being like, all women want the same thing, to work outside the home. I'll tell you what, a lot of non-white, non-middle-class women were definitely already working outside the home, so they had a lot of trouble bringing their sisters into their movement to be allowed to work outside the home, when a lot of the folks they were trying this message on were like, I am definitely allowed to work outside the home, and I would like to get off that list if I could. So that's just one example. Another one that I think people get tripped up on is they learn like one piece of information about an underrepresented or marginalized group, and then they paint this, like they glom everybody together in the same tub. One of the places where I see this happen a lot is with Asian Americans. The experience of an Asian American person whose parents came over as doctors and were affluent and lived in nice communities versus the experience of an Asian American person who was adopted by white people versus the experience of an Asian American person whose parents came over poor and, you know, washed dishes or did janitorial work when they first came to the US. Extremely different. So like, you don't want to be saying things like, oh, it must have been so terrible for you to, you know, grow up poor. And it's like, my parents are brain surgeons. What are you talking about? I did not grow up poor. Like, there might be other things that are not so awesome, but like making assumptions without enough information, even if you mean well, can still kind of get you tripped up. And the bad news is that new stuff you don't know is gonna just keep coming for you, like Jason Momoa, which, that makes it sound nice. I guess depending on your opinion about Jason Momoa. That's off topic. Anyway, the other reason that you may encounter resistance is because people feel like they're giving something up. And you know, it's tricky. Like, they spend a long time preparing something, and then you're like, how about this? We learned some new information. And people are like, I mean, we just got the old thing in place. And I spent so long on it, and we arranged everything around the old thing, and and this happens on both a large and a small scale. Like every level of your, you know, operations can be subject to this. One of the things I've seen is, you know, people like to work with their friends, and that's really fun. So maybe like you and like 3 of your friends are all in the same D&D group, and you work together. There's a lot of D&D chat in the work chat. It's really fun. It makes work feel like not work. And, you know, so then your CTO says something like, we're doing an external search for that opening, and we're going to try really hard to attract diverse candidates. It turns out a level 12 rogue dwarf is not an underrepresented group. So they're probably not going to hire the 5th member of your D&D campaign to come and work for you. And like in your mind, you're like, oh, that was, you know, that was Michael's spot. Like, and it's like, it was never Michael's spot. This is a workplace. You can still have D&D. You don't have to replace anyone on your D&D game. But then when the person who does get that job comes in, they're going to be coming in like kind of 2 steps behind, because like they took the spot, and like it's tricky, and it's like, yeah, it is fun to work with your friends. Like, I worked at a bar, and like they basically hired everyone I knew, and it was just like a party all day, you know. But that's like we're trying to get something done. We're trying to build companies. We're trying to, you know, maybe change the world, make it a better place, and that means like, in addition to diverse hiring, like also some work-life balance. I'm just gonna, you know. That's a whole other talk I could give. Anyway, the other thing that happens is like money is finite. So one of the things that happens when you decide that you're going to be doing more diversity is you find out that everything costs money. Live captioning costs money. It's work. People deserve to get paid to do work. Childcare, it costs money. People are doing work. They aren't your children, you know, it's not their children. Like, you should get paid to hang out with other people's children. And so it's work. And, you know, so it's mailing people COVID tests. Does your budget magically grow when you decide to accommodate more people? I assure you it does not. So you might be thinking like, oh, like, I know, we'll do a diversity sponsorship. We're actually considering a mask sponsorship at the PSF this year for our flagship event next year. Maybe a captioning sponsor or a childcare sponsor. But what if there are no takers? And because that could happen. Then you do the same thing you do for any like small, like nonprofit or underfunded thing or community-driven event. You fund it out of the regular general fund, which is the same place that you fund everything else that you want to do and everything else that you have to pay for that you already signed a contract for. So the only thing I would say, you can tell people like the more we raise in the general fund, the more accommodating we're able to be, the more things we're able to provide. Do not blow up the diversity work by saying, hey, so we're gonna do childcare this year and take away something else really fun that everybody loved. So absolutely don't do that. If your event had like a chocolate fondue fountain that everyone, it was like, all over social media, like people would wear like chocolate colored outfits and like you're really excited about it, et cetera. Don't do that. Find a chocolate fondue fountain funder and then take the diversity and fund it out of your general fund. So so don't pit diversity against your other goals and budget items. So you get everybody in, they're all going forward, you get a little money, maybe you have a diversity sponsor or you have a fondue sponsor, whatever it is, but the results may still be really, really slow. Like you spent 3 hours calling venues in Europe to find one that is wheelchair accessible, and then you do, and of course it costs more because it's modern and has, up-to-date bathrooms and things like that, and then no wheelchair users show up. That feels like a bummer, and it does. Like, I'm saying that in this room, don't say that to like your general community, like I'm bummed no one came to use the wheelchair accessible bathrooms, but I just want you to be prepared that might feel like a bummer. You spent a lot of time and some extra money on something and then no one used it. So first of all, like, you're gonna need to do a little promo. If you're gonna add accommodations or try to like make a different group of people comfortable than who have previously been comfortable or able to attend your event, you're gonna have to tell them. So maybe think of it like a restaurant. Maybe you have a lovely, successful Creole restaurant. This one's fictional. And lots of people come in, but you didn't really provide any vegetarian or vegan options because it's not really a traditional part of your thing. So you might be tempted to do something really half-assed for your vegetarian or vegan option. This is the Firefest lunch for folks that didn't recognize it. So if you're like, cool, we have vegan options now, it's a crust of bread and a little pile of wilted lettuce. Do you think vegans are gonna start coming to your restaurant? No, they're not. What you need to do is make it awesome. You want to be like, here's a beet tartare and a confit of roasted mushrooms, maple charred Brussels sprouts, house-made tapenade, rhubarb granita, and like, it looks awesome. And so I would encourage you to provide new accommodations to the best of your ability and understanding in this spirit. Like, we went so extra. It is so amazing. Like, that childcare, they have their own slide, if you can get insurance for that. But within your means and your understanding, please try to provide your accommodations in this spirit. Because you absolutely need the positive word of mouth to share, like, hey, like this conference just started adding something, and then like people come. Some people will come and they'll talk because people have definitely been disappointed before. These are just a couple examples, like, oh, the venue is wheelchair accessible. Yeah, oh, okay. Like, oh, except for the bathrooms, unless you don't mind going down like 500 feet away from the whole rest of the conference. Or, yeah, it's wheelchair accessible, except the only door you can come in is in the back by the dumpster. You have to call the janitor on their cell and have them come get you. Also, lunch is on your own. I hope it doesn't rain. That is not a wheelchair accessible conference. Like the venue, when they're trying to sell you on coming to their to their venue and giving them money, may say, oh yeah, it's absolutely wheelchair accessible. But, people have been disappointed before, so like, if you don't really provide what you said, it's gonna be really hard for you to come back and try again. And dovetailing with that is be really gracious with feedback. Because sometimes if you lured someone there and said there was gonna be like vegan options and then you gave them that crappy Firefest lunch, like that's gonna be some pretty grumpy feedback. So you have to hear that, promise to do better, and then do better. And so if you are gracious in your feedback, people will see that and they will share. They will say like, well, it wasn't perfect this year, but I talked to the organizer and they said next year they're gonna do better, and they thanked me for my feedback. And they will tell people, because the negative word of mouth is very hard to overcome. So do your best there. All right, so I saved the spiciest bit for last. Backlash. So when you're doing diversity work, some people are not just like, oh, that sounds a little inconvenient, or I don't know, maybe I don't have time, or do we have to? Like, sometimes you will just get full on like, no, 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 no. If I knew what made those folks tick, I would spill that tea immediately. But there are some like mild intermediary folks and some reactions that I think we can do something about. Some folks just like complaining is sort of how they see themselves. They just like to complain. It's like their thing. And like, I think at the heart of that is like, I don't feel listened to, I don't feel respected, I care about this a lot, and I see a lot of things, and I feel like it is my duty to share what I see that I think we're doing wrong, or isn't going well, or isn't going perfect. So I would say with these folks, like, maybe try and get them off the main channel and complain to you directly if you have spoons for that. Hear it. Hear if there's anything actionable or useful in there, or if they're just sort of generally worried, like, I understand, or I'll keep an eye out for that, or, I pick out the one point that was like, yes, you're right, we should have 2 cakes, one vegan, one not. Yeah, that's an awesome idea, thank you. So, so hear them, because that's, I think, what they want. Some folks are just used to everyone kind of being the same. There's this idea that you can't make like shitty jokes if everyone is the same. Like, oh, like no one will call me out on racist, sexist, homophobic behavior if we're all a bunch of straight white men. I'll tell you what, you don't always know if you're hanging out with a bunch of straight white men, even if you think you are. So this one doesn't really work. What does work in getting people to feel more comfortable hanging out with people that are not like them is providing a lot of one-on-one opportunities. So mentorship programs, like changing your team structure around, these kinds of programs help people like get to feeling like a little less like, oh God, I hope I don't say anything terrible or offensive. It's like, no, now it's just a normal person that I hang out with. And then they're like, I have a gay friend now. And it's like, oh, awesome, that's great. Like, so they get a little more chill about it. So that's one thing. Another thing I think that they feel like prestige is going to people who are not like them. And then they're like, wait, I missed my turn as a straight white male. Maybe prestige will never come to me again. Or I'll get the saddest, tiniest trophy and everything. Like we saw this play out in the science fiction community with the sad puppies. They were like, where are all the straight white men? And it's like, we're making up for like 5 decades of like only straight white men? I don't know, a little rebalance, and they just weren't hearing that. But for this, I would say be open and transparent about your goals, and help like your diverse hires like take on work that showcases their skills and ability. And hopefully you do that for all your hires, just to make sure to like not skip here. Keynotes, choosing a keynote that is a little different from your normal or is like from an underrepresented group. And someone's like, oh, obviously they were chosen because of diversity instead of my awesome talk. And so like, you know, never mind that people don't show up to see the same person give the same talk year after year. But anyway, be open and transparent about your goals and keep it super posy. Like gush about all your speakers, about their expertise, the things they know, the tech that they're working on, whatever it is. So it's not like, you know, like just take that focus. It's not diversity, like this person knows more about Kubernetes than anyone I've ever met. That's why they're speaking. So like make sure that you kind of, yeah, take the focus away from like the diversity piece, or, you know, you can talk about, but like also not only for diversity. Some folks just can't imagine not being centered. And I like capybaras. This part's hard, so we're gonna watch a capybara bathe for this. Yeah, so like you'll see pushback on everything. You book a restaurant with excellent vegan options for your staff. I'm actually not vegan, I like a lot of vegan food. But the feedback is, this year's restaurant was weird. Can't we eat somewhere normal next year? And you're like, ugh, like, we couldn't have something like in between. You announced gender-neutral bathrooms or by the elevator on each floor every morning of your conference, along with 12 other housekeeping announcements. And the feedback you get is, I didn't appreciate having the transgender thing jammed down my throat. Or if your community is a little nicer, you might get, I'm not against transgender people, but I didn't appreciate having the transgender thing jammed down my throat. One of your keynotes talks about how hard it was for them as a woman or a person of color or a queer person to get started in tech, and people complain. This is a tech conference. I didn't want to hear about all the feelings. Some of these are almost direct quotes. You decide to enforce COVID safety measures at your conference, and you get, COVID is over. Immunocompromised people should just stay home. Stop trying to be people's mom. So, yeah. That one's real. So they're just like, wait, something became slightly inconvenient for me. I had to hear about other people. I had to do things or know about things. Not into it. These feelings can lead to some very angry behavior. People like the mob is coming, implying that you got to where you are and your ability to make decisions about this conference or this event or this project because like by dishonest means, like you slept your way there or you bribed somebody or something like that. You're not that smart, you're just good at fooling people. Or you might even see threats of violence or vague threats that are so confusing that they might be threats of violence. Or I once had to explain to venue staff in Europe that one of our speakers, who does a lot of diversity work, had received a death threat the night before on a mailing list. So we had to print out a picture of the person who had made that death threat and instruct the venue staff, French-speaking venue staff, my French doesn't usually extend to this, that if this person enters the building, you must call the police immediately. And they were like, okay, yes, merci. And they're like, wait a minute, what kind of conference is this? I told them it's about software licensing. I don't think they believed me. So, I did say we were going to talk about the parts we don't usually talk about. So that's a bummer. It's a bummer for everyone involved, except the person whose picture we printed out, who didn't show up, by the way. So I would say keep moving forward and allow yourself to ask for help and support. And continue to kind of ask yourself who defines normal in your community, because if it's not you, it might be somebody else. We are all creating the communities that we are part of all the time. That is completely us deciding what we want to do. So zealously enforce your code of conduct, like block people that can't give feedback without a ton of slurs in it, delete tickets, and all of those things, because that's the only way we're gonna do it. You have to be welcoming to everyone except the intolerant, who are gonna ruin it. Will you get lots of awards and recognition and pay and all kinds of fun? You won't even get a chocolate fondue fountain, I'm sorry. But you will get to be part of an amazing community that is okay with feelings and vulnerability, a community that steps up and offers support to each other, a community that wants to help you build an amazing, supportive, welcoming environment. And I hope that will be enough for you. I didn't know how much I needed that until I came to the Python community full-time and cut ties with the more toxic parts of the FOSS community. And so I want that for you too. I want that for all of us, and I want that for everyone, really. And I especially want it for the next generation of people that come here to do open source. Thank you.